I'm Leo Waldock for Kitguru. So our friends at Sapphire approached Kitguru and said, do you fancy building a PC around a Sapphire graphics card to give away to a Kitguru reader? We said, sure, what do you have in mind? They said, how's about a Radeon RX 470 with Nitro cooler, like thus? We said, sure, nice graphics card. It's worth taking a closer look at the Sapphire Nitro plus Radeon RX 470 graphics card. So it comes with a back plate, which is slotted, that allows heat to rise and escape, very sensible too. You have the RGB lighting on the side there, which is illuminated at the moment in Sapphire Corporate Blue. However, you can control it either using that red button there, 5 different modes, or you can use Sapphire's Trix 6 software, which includes both fan and lighting control modes. You can also use the Trix 6 to test the fans and make sure they're operating correctly. And then we also have this little flick switch here. So default mode is performance, which means the core speed goes up to 1260 megahertz. Alternatively, flick it across, and when the card starts at running quiet mode, up to 1206 megahertz, and the fans run slightly slower. The lighting control on the Sapphire RX 470 has 5 different modes if we include off as a mode, and we're currently in fan speed mode, so the lighting reflects the fan speed, which as you can see is currently 0, and the lights remain blue. If I just turn the lights off so we can see the lighting on the graphics card more clearly. There we go, nice bright blue, and we'll start a stress test running on the graphics card. And the load goes up and the fans start to turn, and when they hit 1000 RPM the lights will go light purple, and when it passes 1000 they go what they call deep purple or darker purple. That's from 1000 to 1500 RPM. Above 1500 RPM, 1501 to be pedantic, the lights will apparently go red, although I must confess I haven't actually seen that because I couldn't get the graphics card to run hot enough to require the fans to spin that fast. The fans very slowly increase. We're now just past 900. And that was the change to deep purple. Looks more like cerise to me, but still. And as you can see from the lights, actually the fan speed then hovers around the 1000 mark. It goes nowhere near 1500 and certainly doesn't get into red territory. So quite a useful little feature. What are you thinking? They said, well, it's good for 1080 gaming. We said, fine. They said, we'll get together the bits and pieces, you put them together, promote it on Kitguru, give it away, everyone's a winner. What do you think? We said, yeah, okay, what's not to like? But we said, the thing is Sapphire. You do graphics cards, you've got nothing else in your portfolio. What's the plan? They said, well, long-term partners AMD, so we'll get an AMD 6350 6-core processor. Fine, understood. And we'll get this ASRock 990FX chipset motherboard, a fatality job, or combine the graphics card and the processor. We said fine. But there's an awful lot more to a PC than that. Well, they said, we'll ask Corsair. That's what we'll do. We'll ask Corsair. Well, Corsair certainly responded to the request, but they went completely over the top. Somewhere along the line, they apparently didn't read the memo saying we're looking for a 799 PC, and they sent a whole bunch of high-end hardware. So the case in particular stands out. That's the Crystal 570X I reviewed a little while ago. All glass, very high-end, £185. We've got an RM750i power supply there for 130. We've got some RGB fans, SP120s. We've got a Force LE SSD to 40 gig, some Vengeance Pro memory, 32 gigabytes no less. Over here we've got a Void headset. Here we've got a K55 RGB keyboard. There we've got a Harpoon mouse. Somewhere I've got a mouse mat. And to add to it all, we've got this AOC 21.5 inch full HD display. So, with FreeSync, that display. So, blimey, what can you say? And also one thing that's not shown here is a Corsair H100i liquid cooler all in one. Because we thought, well, as this has gone slightly away from the original plan, instead of putting this hardware inside that case and all in one, let's just push it completely to the limit. Let's put a liquid cooling setup on it from Alphacool while we're at it and just blow the budget completely to pieces. So what you're going to get is an AMD FX-6350 6-core processor, the ASRock motherboard, the RX 470 graphics card, which is the heart of the matter, all this Corsair hardware, that AOC display, all the peripherals, a Windows 10 license, the whole shooting match. In total, the hardware sat here totals £1,450, add in the Alphacool hardware, £1,650, £1,700, I would say, which, assuming the thing can play 1080 games, which obviously once I built the thing I'm going to be testing, but I'm certain it will perform at 1080, blimey, what an absolute giveaway. And we fast forward to the finished PC, and the question remains, how does it play games? So let's run Rise of the Tomb Raider, set to high image quality, and let's see what the figures are. I mean, I know what the figures are, I've already run it, obviously. I ran a couple of games, also ran 3D Mark, the figures on Kitguru in the usual way. The real surprise to me is that this system is almost exactly the same as the Razer Blade laptop I recently reviewed, which obviously is a Core i7 mobile processor along with the GTX 1060 graphics chip. This is completely different hardware. The results come out very, very similar. I picked the Razer Blade because A, I've done it recently, and B, it has a full HD screen rather than a higher res, and that's exactly what the AOC here is as well, full HD 1920 by 1080. So the results are that this is actually a perfectly competent gaming PC. And while I was running benchmarks, I racked my brains to think when I last ran an AMD FX processor with AMD graphics, and the answer is very rarely. The combination of AMD processor and RX 470 even rarer. So this was actually a bit of a hold your breath and see how it goes job. The results entirely acceptable, and it's I did notice, by the way, with Rise of the Tomb Raider, that for some reason on this system the pause between each of the scenes as it loads seemed to be quite slow. This one benchmark was like that, whereas Ashes the Singularity and so on, it just chugged through without a problem. That's not to say Rise of the Tomb Raider is a problem, but it was noticeable because I use Intel with 90 whatever percent of the time to see that there was some difference in the behaviour. So anyway, that's by the by. So figures are average in Ashes of the Singularity at crazy setting. It ran 33-35 FPS. Rise of the Tomb Raider overall 76 FPS, so an absolutely admirable gaming experience. I wouldn't want to go beyond Full HD with this setup, that's for sure, but at Full HD, the combination of this PC and this AOC monitor, very nice indeed. Let's take a closer look at what I've done inside the PC. So we've got, as described, the ASRock AMD motherboard with the FX-6350 processor and the Sapphire RX 470 graphics card. The sort of big jump for us was deciding to go with Alphacool liquid cooling, which it's more of a cosmetic thing, if I'm entirely frank, although it does keep temperatures beautifully low on the processor. In an ideal world, I'd have liquid cooled the graphics card as well, but that's got two downsides. One is it would remove the Sapphire branding, and afterwards it's their giveaway stroke competition. That would be pretty rude. The other thing is you can't get a water block for an RX 470, and I really don't fancy using a universal GPU block. So we've gone for an Alphacool DDC pump reservoir mounted in the floor of the case. I've had to drill one hole in the floor because there are slotted mounts, and I needed one extra hole just to make the whole thing work properly. In the front, I have an Alphacool 240mm ST30 radiator. That's their X-flow cross-flow type, where the coolant goes in at the bottom and out at the top. And then we have, now I've actually gone for one of their older water cooling blocks. It's an XP3 rather than the XPX, because I've got both, and that actually in this build looks better to my eye. In terms of functionality, there's very little to choose between, so that is why I've quite deliberately gone for the XP3 block. And then we've got Mayhems Pastel red coolant. Now, I know red black has been done to death, but it's a classic look, it works well, and in this case, no other coolant would have made any sense. Conceivably black, but no, red it is. And then also on the cosmetics front, I've retained the three front fans that come with this Corsair Crystal case, and I've added three more fans they supplied, as I showed in the opening, one at the rear, two in the roof, so that's a total of 6. Now I have to say that putting the hardware in the main compartment, it takes a certain amount of work, but truth be told, all the real work goes on around the back. And the reason I say that is that the Corsair Crystal 570X case, one of the features is it has tempered glass on both main panels and also the top and the front, which means that everything you do around the back, if you choose to look, is on the show. And that's really hard work. It was one of the things I brought up in my review of the Corsair case. So you can say this is my second attempt at a build in the 570X, albeit using rather different hardware. And this time round, I learned from my previous experiences, and I feel I've done a better job. it is hard work, there's no two ways about it. So this is what it looks like with the glass on, and this is going inside. I've done two things of note. One is I've added in a Corsair Commander Mini fan controller. It's also a light controller and other such like. It's a USB controller, so it plugs into their Link software. It's a relatively old piece of hardware, not dissimilar to the NZXT Grid Plus fan controller. And the reason I've used that is because, as I mentioned, there are 6 fans in total, and they each have a light connection which goes to that hub there. They each also need a regular fan connection, and this motherboard has either 4 or 5, plus I wanted one for the PWM connection, or rather for the tacho connection on the pump. So I needed a total of 7. So I've connected the pump to the motherboard just to monitor that, and the 6 fans all connect to the Commander Mini, which is a little over the top. I could have simply used a dumb PWM hub, but this is Corsair's a partner in this build. I had the Commander Mini. It only seemed right and proper to use it. And it works fairly well, and it means that the Link software works correctly. It does also mean I've had to lose one of the 2 SSD bays. So we've got the Corsair Force LE SSD there, and then there should be a second bay there. I've taken it out to put the fan hub in there. If you chose to use a different fan hub, you could surely reinstate that 2.5-inch bay. I've also taken out one of the 3.5 bays. There's one empty over there, and there's a gap because simply the cables. There are so many cables. That's not me being completely lazy, it's just being realistic. If for some reason you felt the need to install 2 3.5-inch hard drives in this chassis, you'd have to do something with the cables, but this is entirely plausible. And the reason I keep saying you is because, of course, this is a system that's up for a giveaway. It's a Sapphire giveaway, and partners are AOC and ASRock, AMD, and Corsair have supplied most of the components. Kitguru supplied the Windows license, by the way. And just to pick up where I opened, I've done a tot-up of the total cost, and it is indeed, as I estimated at the first, £1,650. And I imagine there's going to be a fair amount of freight on top of all that. So quite a nifty giveaway, I feel. And it certainly looks good. And the point is, you do not just get this PC tower, you get the whole shooting match. We're opening up this giveaway stroke competition to anyone who lives in Europe, because frankly we've got to ship this PC, and shipping it to America or Southeast Asia would just be an absolute nightmare. So European entries only. We're going to promote it on Facebook. I'm not quite sure at this moment if it's going to be a question or a lucky dip, but nonetheless, what you get is the PC that I built using all those Corsair components, ASRock, as I say, AMD processor, and of course the Sapphire RX 470 graphics card. These Corsair peripherals, that's headset, mouse, keyboard. You even get a Corsair mouse mat, the AOC display. It's ready to rock and roll 1080p gaming, completely free of charge, open to Europe. Head to Facebook. Hope you win. I'm Leo Waldock for Kitguru. This is one heck of a prize.